but also, you know, like if you were able to see a line coming straight up from this middle point to the ceiling, that's where my center would be. It would actually be like right behind my scrotum, going all the way through the top of my head. And that's the line. Now I tend to think, guys, right? We don't really like intend to fight this way. It's not like we're going to start here to fight this way. It's a teaching method to get you these ideas. And so, for example, we start doing basic techniques from this stance. All right, and again, we do this stance. This is called Wan Gong Sit. Everybody's used to like forward bow stances in most martial arts, and karate and taekwondo is basically all based on this. This is a side one. You have the yu lick, which is the actual power that you're developing. Remembering that the yu, which we translate as waist, is actually your whole core, and the lick is power. There's different kinds of power, and we have what we call the Chaelun sahn. Chaelun means wheel, and sahn means body, a wheeling body. So in other words, I'm wheeling my body turns like a wheel. And what's really interesting is the idea of your body turning like a wheel exists in Xingyi, exists in Tai Chi, exists in Lama. Basically, if you go back to almost all the systems, if you find their old written stuff, they'll have this idea. It's all turning. And again, it's to get you to use your hips and your shoulders, your hips and your shoulders. So, in my system, we call this chun, which is penetrate. Some people call it jin, like arrow, and then of course everybody has their own system. Ping kun, you know, means the flat fist. Some people call it, you know, pan choi. It's all different names, but basically it's a straight punch. At the beginning, I think going to body, which means that from my solar plexus straight in, from my solar plexus straight in. In Lama, we tend to do it this way, which doesn't look very practical, right? Because my arms are all stretched out. But the real reason to do this is not because in a real fight I'd be going, but to get this arm to go back, because what it does is, as this one goes back, it makes me turn. And what that also means is this one goes forward. And I tell people it's like drawing a bow, right? You can't just pull the string to draw a bow. When you draw a bow, you actually not only pull, but you extend. And so I tell people, if we're talking about like real practical fighting and I do jab, I'm not just jabbing. Not only am I thinking about this, and again, yi, which is intentionality, is a big deal for me. My intentionality is both here for forward and here for backward. And when I put them together, boom. Right? And you guys somebody had like that aha moment of why this is not a good jab, but this is a good jab. Why, you know, this is an okay cross, but this is a better cross. I'm pulling because opposite, they're not really opposite directions. They're complementary directions because as this one goes back, this one has to go forward. As this one goes back, this one has to go forward. So by doing this, what's the term? Pedagogical? You know, it's a teaching thing. It's teaching shit. That's probably a bit easier to say on Saturday morning, right? This arm is going back. So maybe you see, because see how it makes me, even if I'm not doing the chun, even if I'm just doing this part, you see how by just extending this arm out before, it turns. And again, practically, why do we want to turn a lot? Well, one is for power and for penetration, but also, just put your hands up right? I'm trying to jab you here. It's not the same thing as if I'm jabbing you here, right? And again, if I punch you like, oh look, I'm doing kickboxing, right? But if I turn, right? This is why also, people sometimes go like, oh, I'm punching, there's no way I can kick because I'm too close. Yeah, but if I'm using my full extension, I'm right there. Right, I'm using my full extension right there. I don't want to go. I want to go. I'm trying not to kill him. But again, so the practical application is going to be from fighting stance or, you know, from a normal stance, because like, you know, fighting stances, you know this shit's going to happen. You're in the bar, he's been talking shit to you for like 25 minutes, and he starts to go again, right? Or he grabs your shirt and shit's on. There's also that time that his girlfriend told you that some guy at the bar talked shit to her. He doesn't know which guy, so he grabs you. Then you're here, right? Then you get a little bit of the side stance, right? Because I was here. Oh shit. But let's work this punching. And again, If this is not your style, don't worry about it. It's not really my style either. It's just a teaching tool to get you to learn how to turn so that you don't have this thing. Okay? Turn. And again, if you've got any boxing gym in the world, nobody's going to teach you to do this. Exercise stance. Exercise stance. When people move, again, like I said, a lot of people are moving, they're like all over the place. You see how they're like doing this? So what I do is this. Turn. You see how I'm kind of compressing him a little bit, which is kind of a jerky thing to do, but I'm teaching him that again. Think about that barbecue skewer going through the top of your head. Right? It's a really important concept. It really is an important concept. Move, move, move. Keep going, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning. Right? And again, why? Sun faat, right? Guys, look for a second, right? My head, my shoulders, and my hips are perpendicular. You know, we'll do this. We're gonna wrestle. So grab my head. See, there's nothing. Snap back. Oh. Do it the wrong way. Pretend I didn't train you for like years. Right? When you're here, right? It's easy to get snapped back. Snap down to a choke. Snap down to the floor. Right? But again, you see what happens, right? If he grabs my neck, right, and my head and my shoulders and my hips are here, and I walk my hips in, it's very hard for him to control me, even if I have to, even if he has to. I'm doing this, by the way, with the core and calf muscles, just to prove the point. Right? Also, if we're back here and he decides to throw knees, right? He starts to throw knees, right? He's got all that room. Right? If I'm here and he's going to throw knees, just my sun faat alone is defense against the knees. Right? And Tai Chi is always talking about that, you know, thread through the head, thread through the head, thread through the head. Right? I think it's amazing that Tai Chi people talk the most about Thai clinch. Who would have thunk it, right?